There's nothing quite like going out to the back pasture to think. It's remarkable, sort of, especially in the winter, the stillness and quiet this place possesses. While there's so much life and it's almost overwhelming with how green it is and how much activity buzzes around me when I'm out here in the summer, when you're out here in the winter, there's something much more reflective and quiet and thoughtful. Right now I'm trying to take more time to just think and plan and reflect on what I want to do here on the farm in 2019. Or what goals do I want to have? What sort of grand things do I want to create? You know, I've talked a good game about all the different things I want to do. Whether it's trying to rotationally graze geese like they were cattle, or digging a pond, or maybe even trying to grow hemp out back here in this back pasture. And I'm not quite sure what I ultimately want to do. You know, sometimes I can get down on myself because I'm not moving quick enough, or I'm disorganized, or I'm just not as efficient as I could be, or I've made a mistake and I didn't have enough knowledge or experience and I did something stupid. And I'm really trying to now not beat myself up so much about that sort of stuff, and really just sort of take it easy and take it with and sort of take it all within stride. I mean, like, if you think about it, right? My vision is to be here for years and years to come. The number of mistakes I'm going to make is going to be innumerable, but the lessons learned that come from those mistakes is going to be even greater. And I shouldn't get so down if I make one of those mistakes. And so, you know, I'm going to continue to try to keep focused here and try to keep patient and try to be thoughtful about what I do and where I go with things. And yeah, that's just sort of a lesson. So in my last video, which was that tour of the permaculture orchard, I mentioned to you guys that the biggest failure of 2018 was what we're doing with the hazelnut grove. And so I figured it'd be a good time to take you guys out here and show you what's happening. So here it is. Doesn't look like much now, and you can't really tell what's going on. But you can see some of the flags poking out here. Each one of these flags, like this one right here, is a hazelnut shrub. Yeah. Now I had a pattern of about 50 shrubs that were all planted through here. And I really wanted this to work as like a standalone operation. But I don't know. It doesn't look like it's doing too well. If my experiment was working, I would have a lot more plants that look like this popping up all around here. Like you'd see probably about 50 of them. By my count, there's like 2 or 3. So that's not a good sign. I mean, what didn't work with the hazelnuts was, I think, a lot of neglect on my part. I set it up in a way where it was going to be really hard to mow. And again, I didn't think about the mowing aspect of it. And so for those of you guys who are out there watching my videos, wondering what's an important consideration for planting any sort of orchard or perennial shrub or tree crop operation, think about your mowing. Mowing is like one of, if not the most important maintenance thing that you can do. It keeps the rodent populations down, it keeps the weed pressure down, gives your trees and shrubs the opportunity to thrive. And I was pretty neglectful. So my strategy was to protect things from the deer. I set up a very, very cheap, simple deer fencing system that consisted mostly of garden stakes and mason's twine. I made a couple of gates like you can see right here. But for the most part, it was just garden stakes and mason's twine all the way around. And then I set up a second fence. You can see that structure sort of sits outside here, right? So this was the second layer. So there was 2 layers of it. The thinking being that deer wouldn't want to try to traverse the 2 layers. And actually that strategy worked pretty well. Where I fell down was my maintenance of it. It was very hard to try to get the mower in here. When I did get the mower in here, it was very hard to figure out where the shrubs were and what was grass, and so it was really hard to mow. I often found I had to use the scythe or like a hand sickle or a weed whacker, and all that got very, very labor intensive. It's unfortunate. And so at a certain point this past summer, I just got frustrated and fed up with it and kind of gave up. I let it go wild. So the failure of this place is very much on me. But there was a lesson that was to be learned in the whole thing too. The lesson being that if I'm going to make this orchard situation work, I'm going to need to think more in systems, and I'm going to need to think of ways to make sure that I can maintain it in a way that's efficient. I can't waste all my time trying to hand mow and hack my way around complicated planting schemes. So I guess if I'm thinking about the lessons, yeah, there's the don't be so hard on yourself, and believe me, I'm critiquing myself right now, but I'm completely at peace with it, and I'm totally ready to start again in 2019 once the snow melts with trying to establish this situation here. And so don't think I'm so hard on myself. But at the same time, I think there's a lesson, an important one, and that I need to keep it simple. I need to keep it simple in a way that makes it easy to maintain and easy to manage. And so as you guys are out there making your own garden and homestead and farm plans, I'd push you to also think about keeping it simple. So Natalie over at Hey It's a Good Life challenged me in one of her videos to answer the question of what was the biggest lesson you had in 2018. And I think the biggest lesson for me in 2018 was to keep it simple. So often I can overthink things, and I can try to get too fancy and too clever with how I design things here at the farm and how I build things here at the farm. And most of the time, especially throughout 2018, it sort of backfired. And as I think about it, and as I look at 2019 and the things I want to do, that biggest lesson of keeping it simple is going to be an important one that I follow through with. It's keeping it simple too in a number of ways. It's keeping it simple in how I design things, keeping it simple in terms of the systems I'm going to need to maintain things. It's keeping it simple in terms of the lifestyle I lead and what I aspire to and what I hope to do. So if you think about like a graph, right, and you have on the x-axis talking about the simplicity of your plans, and you think about the y-axis and your happiness, what I've found has been that the higher the simplicity, the higher the happiness. And so as I'm thinking about things in 2019, I'm going to be really trying to keep them simple. Now, there's a lot of things that I want to do this year, but I'm also going to work to make sure that they're not too complicated, and I'm going to try to really push myself to keep it simple. So that's it. That's all I've got. Just a couple of quick thoughts here as I reflect out in the remains of the hazelnut grove and dream about what 2019 is going to hold. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. How is simplicity playing a role in your farms and homesteads? Let me know down in the comments, and I will keep you updated with what our plan looks like. Very soon, I'm going to be releasing a video that would try to lay out the whole game plan and picture, but I'm honestly still working on that one right now. So I will talk to you guys real soon. Thanks.